let's continue working with pen and ink. Supplies you'll need include your pencil, a circle to trace. This is just a Tylenol bottle. You can always locate another circle, perhaps in your kitchen, a herb or spice, or perhaps a K-cup. Something bigger than a quarter but smaller than a mug. And then, of course, whatever pens that you have. Let's see. Well, whatever pens that you have. So here's what we had started with. We indicated a light source. I had you do a values map so we could talk about how this white spot needs to remain white in all of our circles. And then we work with a light, a medium, and a dark. And that's your goal. Your main goal is to achieve those different values with whatever technique we're using. We looked at this technique of cross-hatching and stippling, and now we're going to do 3 circles, part 2. So this was part 1, and then part 2 is going to be 3 more circles. Whether you put them over here or wherever, doesn't matter as long as you label them of what their title is. So in this video, it's going to be Scumbling and bubbles and letters. So I'm working out 3 new circles. Yes, please do this in pencil because later we want to be able to erase. So usually although it sounds a bit dramatic, I like to wait an entire day for the ink to be sure. I'm sure that this ink is dry, and then I can erase my pencil line, outline, and I get that nice technique edge, like an implied edge instead of an exact pencil line edge. So after you've waited at least a day for the ink to dry, it's a little dramatic, but wait a while, then you won't smear it. So these are done in pencil, and I'm going to label them. This one is going to be called Scumbling. This one is going to be Bubbles. And this one is going to be Letter. And I'm going to put it like this, possibly letters, plural. All right. Always you choose your lightest pen and then what you perceive to be a darker pen. I'm going to use these 2. You may have, this is a very thin, fine pen. You may have one of those. Try to use at least 2 different pens. If by chance you only had 1 pen, you could do it. You would just have to work with the light and dark values of it. So, Scumbling looks like this. Scumbling is what I call organized scribble. So it's kind of, there's straight lines, there's curved lines, there's little bits. It's tangled looking. It almost like a tangled ball of yarn or twigs. So it's much more loose and free versus these. And these take a lot longer. These take less time. So let's jump in. I'm going to think about where my white spot is. So I'm kind of, let me zoom in a little. I'm kind of going to go in a motion kind of around that white spot because I want it to remain white. So it's almost like you're trying to be neat, but someone's bumping your arm. Almost like a really awful signature. Like a horrible hand, like you're trying to sign your name and someone's bumping your arm. You could even do some little ones. Oops, that kind of went out. That's okay. You should go outside the pencil line. Okay, I have a light area. I want to get a little bit darker in the middle. So I'm just going to go a little more. Same pen. And notice I'm still kind of traveling in this rounded direction. So I want this round effect And that keeps the sphere becoming more 3D. Otherwise, it's going to be very flat, and that will not add to its 3D quality. It'll take away from it. So I gotten a little bit darker here in the middle. That's what I want. I'm going to switch to my Sharpie just to get a little bit darker at the bottom, because I want it to be that nice, rich, dark without coloring in. I'm not going solid. I do want to see little bits of the white paper showing through still. If you look closely, you see the white paper. So controlled scribble. Nice and dark here at the bottom. So I asked myself, do I have a white spot, a light area, a medium, and a dark? The answer is yes. I think I'm done with this one. All right. Bubbles is kind of just what it says. Bubbles, here's a finished one. Little circles. It looks kind of effervescent. It looks like carbonation, like a bubble bath. So it's lots of little circles. White, light, medium, dark. So let's do some bubbles. I'm going to use this very light pen, this Hybrid Technica. It's a 03. I think you can see that. Again, I'm going to kind of circle out the white spot, because I want to reserve that. There's no erasing, so I cannot emphasize enough that you got to keep that white part, reserve it white. No pen should go there. Maybe some little ones just to keep it kind of light, and that's it. Notice my circles are quick, organic. They're not perfectly formed individual circles, although you can do that if you prefer a more orderly look. Absolutely. So I'm just kind of filling in the whole thing, light pen, and now I'm going to think about going a little bit darker in the middle. Still the same pen, even though it's pretty light. So I'm going to keep going. And you can see it's getting a little darker right here. Just circle, 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 which can be either, in your opinion, it could be either more tedious or it could be kind of relaxing. Put some Zen music on and just flow with it. So, I want it a little darker. So I'm going to switch to a darker pen. Again, if you only, for some reason, had just single one pen, you could do this whole thing. But where it's light, you have to be more careful. Or perhaps where it's dark, you just have to do more. So it depends on what pen you have. If you do have several pens, please use at least two. What you perceive to be a darker pen and a lighter pen. All right, so I already have white, light, and medium. Now I gotta throw some dark there at the bottom, because I do want all of my circles to have that little bit of dark at the very bottom. It does kind of, to me, suddenly add a little bit of more depth to it than it had before, because it's really showing you that, yeah, that rounded quality and that that dark part here at the bottom. And I think that's it. It's easy to do too much and then oops, you've gone too far and the whole thing's too dark. So pause and look every once in a while and see what you think. Okay. Letters. You have some choices. I'm going to make sure you are aware of your choices. Once I can find... Here we go. All right. So you could... There's different ways to approach it. You could do a single letter. You could do your initials. Or you could just pick a letter. I did B because for Brendan's, but I also kind of like the letter Z. No matter what you choose, just write letter and then decide. So maybe if I wanted this one to be the letter X, I would write an X here. So you can always practice and see what looks good. And look at how the B versus the Z, they look different. So you're going to get a different effect depending on what letter or letters that you choose. If I choose, let me do a single letter. I'm going to choose, let me think. I'm going to do the letter E. That's my son's initial. So, you know, maybe I'll do capital. Yeah, I'll do capital E's. So I want to kind of first outline that white spot, which we know is our highlight. And if this is too much, pick an easier letter, because there are easier ones, isn't there? So, give it a try. All right, so I've got the white part surrounded. And I'm going to keep going and just fill this in. And I could do a larger E's. And actually doing larger ones at this like middle to bottom part would actually give it like a little perspective too. Or you could do, if you know cursive, you could do some cursive. Yeah. I feel like you got to concentrate a little bit more with the letters versus the other ones, the other techniques. Okay, E. So, make some little ones go out because they're floating away. And continue with the middle. And while it might just look like lines, don't cheat yourself out of it. Don't just do lines to fill it in. Continue to do that technique. If you were to watch me closely, you would see I'm just doing the same motion over and over again. So don't abandon the technique. It might get a little bit tedious. Shake it off. You know, give yourself a break. Walk away. Come back to it. Not worth getting frustrated over. And you can see it's looking different than the other techniques, the other letters. All right, I'm gonna throw some darker pen. This is pretty, I don't know, this isn't as light as I would hope. Little ones maybe, to kind of fill that in. All right, so let's get darker. Maybe darker here at the bottom. So that your goal, ultimately, is to get the different values. If you can also get those values to blend, even better. That's a skill that maybe takes a little practice, but to get these to blend from light to medium to dark kind of seamlessly, that's a bit of something to work on. So, but your main goal is to have the different values and trying out the technique, because you know that showing up, giving it a try, trying something new, just getting it done is just as important. So I'm going to stop there. Here is our 3 circles part 2, and we will continue with our pen and ink lesson as we go. See ya.